Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this rainbow beaded Kumihimo bracelet. And this is what it looks like. So this is the final look of your bracelet. So you have all your rainbow colours and the colours are kind of blending into each other, so it gives a really nice effect. And you have an extender chain on here. And then what I've done for this one is you can obviously get your materials and make this yourself, but I've also put some kits together for this exact bracelet and you'll be able to find them on my Etsy page and also on my website. And those kits will contain all the beads that you're going to need, all the cord, and also all the findings that you'll need to make this specific bracelet. And there will also be instructions in it, but you can obviously also refer back to this video to help guide you to make it as well. But otherwise, if you want to know how to do this, then keep watching. And these are the things that we're going to need. Now first off, I'm just going to be using my round Kumihimo disc, because it's a basic 8-strand round braid that we're going to be making, and we're just going to be adding beads to that. And then the cord that I'm going to be using is this, and it's an S-Lone cord, and it's about 0.4mm in diameter, and it's just a black colour because I thought it would be a nice kind of neutral background colour because I'm using many different colours for the beads, so I didn't find it necessary to use one of these colours. I thought a black one would suit better, so I'm just using this. And also I really like using this type of cord for beaded Kumihimo because it's really strong, and it also, the thickness, it'll go through most beads. And then the beads that I'm going to be using are these regular seed beads, and these are all a size 8/0, so they're all the same size. I just got the exact same bead but in different colours because I wanted to make sure that it's a consistent look. So these are all Miyuki beads, so little seed beads, a size 8/0 like I said, and these are all silver lined. Now you can obviously choose whatever kind of beads that you want to use. I just thought these would look really nice together and give a really nice effect. And then of course I'm using all the rainbow colours, so red, orange, yellow, green, blue and purple. So get all your materials together and then let's get started. So before we can start making the braid, we first need to just cut our cords ready. Now what I've cut of my S-Lone is 4 lengths of 1 meter each. And now what we're going to be doing is the 8-strand braid, but we're going to be doubling these over so the 4 lengths will turn into 8 working strands. And then what I'm going to do is, to make it into them 4 strands, we need to double them over. So I put the ends together like this, all in one end so they're level, and then where I have my finger here with the loop, that's roughly about the middle of all my cords. So I'm going to keep hold of that, and then just with all my cords as if they were just 2 strands, just make a simple overhand knot like this, just with all your strands, and then tighten it where I have my finger so the knot ends up being roughly the middle, like that. And then we have 4 strands coming out on each side of that knot, and now we can then attach this to the board so we can start making our braid. So we now have our cords with our knot here ready, and what I'm just going to do is I'm going to get a piece of scrap wire here. This is just some spare wire that I had used from another project, and it doesn't really matter what thickness, just whatever you have lying around. You could also just use some spare cord to tie around. I'm just going to put this around where the knot is. This is just to kind of help me along, mostly in the beginning, to be able to pull it through the disc. I'm just going to secure this by twisting it. And like I said, you can also use a cord or something just to tie around. And if you prefer to work with weights on your Kumihimo, you can also just attach that if you want to. But I find it comfortable just doing this. So just attach this, and then we need to get our Kumihimo board out on the disc. And then where you have this knot, and then in my case this wire, put it down through the middle of your disc. And then we just need to attach and distribute all these cords on a Kumihimo disc. So don't worry about the numbers because it's just a basic 8-strand braid. Just look at the dots on your disc and then place them on each side of your dots. So 2 around the top dot, 2 around the side dot here, like so, and then 2 around the bottom dot, and then 2 around the last dot, the last free one, like that. And you can just adjust it so you're not with your wire attached, if that's what you're using, is sitting here in the middle of the hole on your disc. So we now have the cords here set up on our disc and we're ready to start working with them. But before we start adding in the beads to the braid, I'm just going to do a little section of just braiding with the cord, just to create a little section so we can use that at the end to finish off our piece and say turn it into a bracelet. But what I'm going to do then is take my top left one around the dot here, bring it down to the bottom pair, and then from the bottom pair the right one, bring it up and stay on the right side to the top, like that, and turn my disc and do the same thing with the next pair. Top left one, bring it down to the bottom left, and bottom right one, bring it up to the top right. And this is just the basic 8-strand braid. If you're unsure of how to do that, I have a more detailed video on how you make this braid. I'm going to link that in the description box so you can have a look at that. But you just continue this until you have, I would say, a couple of centimeters of braid should be plenty. About 1 or 2 I'm going to do centimeters. So I've now continued braiding with just my cord, just until I have a tiny little section here of about a centimeter, maybe a centimeter and a half, on the back where I just have a braid of cord. And we're going to use that at the end, like I said, just to finish off the piece. So now it's time to start adding in the beads. So I've now added all my beads onto all my lengths of cord, and I'm just going to go through with you now in detail how I've set them up. Now at first glance it looks like it's quite random how I put them on my lengths, but there is actually a pattern to this. And that pattern is, if you look on your individual strands, you'll find that going from colour to colour on each strand, that pattern is the same one on all your strands. The only difference from strand to strand is the very first colour that you added and the very last one. So the amount of beads you've added on your very first colour and last are different between your strands. And now to begin with, I just want to explain that where I have my board now is the next pair that I'm due to use to create the braid is these two. So I'm due to take my top left and bring it down, and then the bottom right and bring it up. And that's just the way that I work. Some people go from the bottom up first and then come down, or start from the other side. On most braids it doesn't matter what you do. In this case though, you will either have to work the same way that I do, so that means set up all your beads the way that I'm going to show you, and then work from the top left and then from the bottom right. If you don't want to do that, if you want to still work the way that you normally do, which will be different than this, then you'll need to just set up your beads in a different way. And by that I mean the pattern on your strands are going to be the exact same, but the only difference is going to be you're going to have to swap over some of your strands. So in this case, like I said, I'm starting from my top left, so that means this one is the next one I'm due to use. And because the beginning and the end are slightly different amounts on each strand, you'll have to swap that over. So say if you start from this side, from the right side instead of the left, you would have to swap these two strands over, because you always have to make sure that the one I'm starting with is the one that you're going to start with as well. But if you do that, obviously you have to swap over the whole disc. So that means the bottom two as well, and then also flip over the side ones. And so now I'm just going to go through with you how to set up your beads on each of the individual strands. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it one strand at a time, and I'm just going to start with the one, like I explained, this is my next one that I'm due to take to keep creating the braid. So my top left one in this case, and it'll be the same no matter where you put that. This is going to be the one that you need to do next. So that particular one, what I've done is I've put on 7 red beads, and it's these red ones on most of the strands that start out, the amount of them are going to be different from strand to strand. So on this one, the one we're going to start with, it's 7 of the red beads, and then it's 4 orange, and then it's 9 yellow, 4 green, 9 blue, and then again 7 purple. So 7 purple are the same that we started out with the 7 red. And that's where you could probably see the pattern as well. If you take away the red ones and the purple ones throughout the rest of the strand, and it's the same on all the strands, between the colours it goes 4 and 9, 4 and 9, and that's the actual pattern of the braid. So that's the pattern on the individual strands, how you set up your beads. And then what you'll also find is there's also a pattern that if you go diagonally opposite, so this is my top left one, and if you go to the bottom right one, that strand is exactly the same. So that means 7 red, 4 orange, 9 yellow, 4 green, 9 blue, and then the 7 purple at the end. So those are your first 2 strands. They're exactly the same, and that will be the same throughout the whole disc. You have the ones that are diagonally opposite each other are going to be the exact same with your beads on there. So if we just finish off this pair that we're working with, so I took my top left one and the bottom right one, they're sorted now, they're the same. So move over to the other one, so that's the top right one, that's in the same pair. And for this one you'll need to start out with 4 red ones, and then 9 orange, 4 yellow, 9 green, 4 blue, and then 9 of your purple. And as you can see, this whole strand is basically just the pattern. And so the last one on this pair, the one down here that's diagonally opposite the one I just did, that's the exact same. So again, we go directly into the pattern, 4 red, 9 orange, 4 yellow, 9 of the green, and then 4 of our blue, and then we finish off with 9 of our purple beads. So that's our first pair done here completely. We're basically halfway through the whole disc. And now once you get that pattern and you can see that there is a pattern to it, it's not just random beads, it makes it a little bit easier to put your beads on. And then moving on to our next pair, so this is the one that we're not going to be working with first. This isn't till we do the first pair and then flip it around. So these are the next ones. So if we start with on the right side, and then on the top right side, we again obviously start out with the same colours, but we start out with having 7 red, and then we have 9 orange, we have 4 yellow, 9 green, and then 4 blue, and on this one we finish off with 6 purple. So again, if you take out the first and the last colour, the middle of the strand is that same pattern that we've been working with throughout all the strands. So that's the 9 and 4, 9 and 4. And again, if you go from this diagonally opposite to the other side, so that means the bottom one on the left pair, and you work your way out, that's exactly the same. So that's 7 red, and then we have 9 orange, 4 yellow, 9 green, and 4 of the blue, and then again we finish off with 6 of our purple. And then the very last 2 chords we have left from this pair and in the whole disc, what we do is we start out with 9 red, and then 4 of our orange, then we do 9 of our yellow, 4 of the green, 9 of the blue, and again we finish off with 4 of the purple. So again on this strand, like I mentioned on one of the other ones, we basically go straight into the pattern, and it was like on this one up here, the only thing is we do it the opposite way around. So instead of this one we went 4, 9, 4, 9. On this one we go 9, 4, 9, 4. And again, the very last one, just like all the others, we go from this one diagonally opposite, and the very last chord we have left is exactly the same as the one we just done. So that means 9 red, 4 orange, 9 yellow, 4 of our green, then 9 of the blue, and then finish off with 4 of your purple. So that is then all your beads put onto all your lengths of strands. And then what we need to do now is just start making the braid and incorporating these beads into it. And then because we're working with beads on the Kumihimo, so we have all our beads on our strands, what we need to make sure of obviously is as we're starting the braid, we don't want the beads to fall off our lengths of cord. So in this case you can either just put a knot at the end of your cord, on each cord obviously, and just make sure that if you might need to put a couple of knots on top of each other so that the knot can't come through the bead as well. And then that will stop them falling off. Another option that you can do is you can also get something like these, and these are called bobbins, and they're great for Kumihimo in general. You just open them like this, you put your cord around the inside there and then close it back up, and you can easily feed your cord through. Now I really like using these for especially beaded Kumihimo, but like I said, you can either use these, they're quite handy, or you can just use a knot on the end of your cord if you don't have them. So now it's time to start the braiding. Now I'm going to show you in this video how I'm going to add the beads to the braid, but also if you want a bit more detailed video, I do have another one showing how to do that in detail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link that in the description box and you can have a look at that if you need to. So to continue my braid and incorporating the beads into that, what I'm going to do is pick up my board like this and then keep hold of it, and then what you can do if you want to is you can put a weight or something on the bottom here, That's completely up to you. But then otherwise what we need to do is start incorporating the beads in by continuing the basic 8-strand braid that I've been doing right from the beginning. So what I'm going to do is, like I've been doing the whole time, grab my top left one, and then as I do that, I'm going to release one of my beads, let it drop down, and release the cord from the board, like that. And then you need to let your bead drop down into the middle there. And then it needs to go right underneath all the other cords. So it might drop down by itself and just fall in there nicely in place. And if it doesn't, you just give it a little tug and then put it in place. And then put your cord down on the bottom of the board. And then it sits nicely there, kind of caught in place and trapped by the other cords. Move down to the bottom. And then again, release one bead so that drops down. Release the cord and then that bead will drop down. Sometimes you'll find the bead just does it on its own and that's fine. But if not, like I said, you can just give it a little tug. And like that, then you have your first 2 beads and that's your first set. And then now all we do is turn it around just like we would do a normal braid without the beads. And then continue and do the same thing. So again, for the next pair, I'm going to drop down 1 bead on my cord. So release that. And then let it drop all the way down. As you can see, it went straight in there by itself. And then put that cord into place on the bottom. Move on to the next one. Release 1 bead. And then release the cord. And there you can see, it's not dropping down completely on its own. So what I'm going to do is just give it a little tug so the bead gets tucked in there. Like that. Nicely in place. And then again, turn your disc around and move on. And this is just how you do it throughout the rest of the piece. But like I said, I have another video to show you in more detail how to add the beads, and that link is going to be in the description box. But then you just continue like this, adding your beads every time you cross over a cord. So I've now kept braiding until I've finished adding all my beads, and then now what we need to do is make that little section like we did in the beginning of just braid with a cord. So now that I've done that, what we need to do now is get this off our disc so we can finish off the bracelet. And to do that, I'm just going to grab opposite cords, so cords that are diagonally opposite each other, and take 2 at a time here, and then bring them across the middle like this, and then tie a regular knot. And then what you'll find when you tighten that knot, it'll sit right on top of your braid. I'm just going to put them back in to get them out of the way. The only thing, make sure you don't start with the pair that you've just done. Start with the previous pair and grab another 2 opposite each other, tie a knot across the middle, and then moving on to the last 2. And this is just to secure the end of the braid in place for now, so we can take it off the board without it coming undone. And the last ones, like this. And then we can now take all our cords off and the braid won't come undone. It's going to be nice and secure. Like so. And then now you have your finished braid here. So now all we need to do is finish off the ends to make it into a bracelet. And all I would do with that is just put some glue on here on the end so you can cut off the excess cords here, right down close to the braid, and then just put on some end caps and Kumihimo ends. And obviously the same, take the wire out, and this is already ready. And I have a video on how to do that if you need to see how to put on the Kumihimo ends. And I'll put a link to that in the description box so you can have a look at that if you need to. So I've now added Kumihimo ends to both ends and turned it into a bracelet with an extended chain. And then here you have your beaded rainbow Kumihimo bracelet where the colours blend in nicely together. And like I mentioned in the beginning, I've made up some kits for this specific bracelet, so you can go and have a look on my Etsy page and on my website and you'll find the kits there. And what I've done is each kit will contain all the materials that you'll need to create this one bracelet. So all your beads, all your cord and all your findings as well. So you'll be able to make a full bracelet out of that kit. But otherwise, like I said, this is the finished bracelet, and obviously the instructions for the bracelet will also be in the kits. But then I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching. Hello there everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to finish off your Kumihimo braids. And I have these two as examples. So I'm going to show you how to finish off a round one using these type of ends, and then how to finish off a flat one. So if you want to learn how to do that, then stay tuned. Now the first Kumihimo braid that I'm going to show you how to finish off is a round one. And I have one here that I've made, and